What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Will Carr Speaks podcast. I'm excited that you are tuning in here today. In this episode, I sit down with my good friend, Charles Phanumphai, who, outside of just being a great guy, a good family man, is also a very successful entrepreneur, starting his own company, Snowcap Properties, that does more than just property management, but really has their unique niche of property management in the Grand County area of Colorado. So we dive into exactly what his real estate company does, which I think you're going to find very interesting. On top of this, though, we just talk about macroeconomics for real estate in general. We dive into lots of topics on just life and what it means to really find joy and happiness and to have good community around you. So I encourage you all to stick around, listen to the end. And if you stick around for the whole thing, you might even find out what Charles and my favorite superpowers are if we could have just one superpower. So with that said, thanks for being here and enjoy the show. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Will Carr Speaks podcast. Excited to get into another fun episode here today. I've got my good friend, Charles. I actually don't know how to pronounce your last name. Say it again. Phanumphai, Charles Phanumphai of Snowcap Properties. I just asked you that and I'm still messing it up. But yeah, man. So we're just going to get into it. We're going to talk some real estate. We're going to, just have some fun and see where the conversation goes. Yeah. So yeah, Charles, how's the drive to Boulder?
It was great. And thanks for having me. It's memory lane coming up to Boulder. I went to CU Boulder, graduated 2001, so 25 years ago. So that's memory lane coming up.
Yeah.
But I do still come up here every now and then. And so, 75-degree weather. I wish it was through snow, but, it's good to be back in Boulder. So.
Yeah. Well, I think yesterday was the first official day of spring, right?
Yeah.
So, winter's passed, man.
Yep.
We're into spring.
We need that spring snow.
At least if we get rain.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, no one wants fires, but I would say with your business, you probably especially don't want to see fires.
Yes and no. I would never wish ill on unfortunate events, but funny enough, I wouldn't say the first step towards our real estate company. It was maybe like the second or third. It was the East Troublesome Fire in Grand County, the Colorado's second largest wildfire. And I think it's been 5 years ago, which is right around we started. We started off with short-term rentals. The fire came through. What's funny is, so my boys, we were driving up from Evergreen to Granby. And as you come down that last hill into Granby, we saw the fire. And my 10-year-old now was probably like 4 or 5 then. Mm-hmm. He cried because it was scary coming down and you see that wall of fire creeping up towards Granby. And we ended up spending the night and then we left to come back to Evergreen because it was like, why put pressure on first responders to try to save us if it crept and crossed that last highway towards our neighborhood? It didn't, fortunately. But the funny thing is, so you have, just like a lot of mountain communities, you have, low end, middle, and high end housing, right? And as you go into that Grand Lake, North Granby area, it's really high end homes on acreage. Well, when the fire burned down, insurance covers their relocation or housing while they're renovating. So all these insurance companies reached out to us to say, hey, do you have an equivalent house of a multi-million-dollar rental? When you get to a certain point, rentals, people don't want to rent out their house anymore, right? They're set. They just don't need it. But then there's call it the next step down. And so while insurance is obligated to find them equal housing for what was lost, maybe the step down, single family home on a quarter acre, 4 or 5 bedrooms, something like that. So they ended up renting out from us for the first year or two of that fire. So from a business perspective, it catapulted us
forward.
Yeah. On year One.
On year one. Well, let's
I don't want that to happen. I don't
yeah.
want the wildfire, but should it happen from a business perspective, it's actually good.
As long as it's not your properties that burn down.
And that's what I have insurance for too,
yeah,
right?
I guess that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, let's take a step back for a minute to really kind of explain what your business model is, so that way people would understand even why insurance companies are reaching out to you in this event, you know, that happened. So first, how many properties do you manage?
About 110.
Okay.
And I say about because there's always homeowners about to offboard. They're looking to sell as spring is here. And then there's always some housing or homes that are in the onboarding process. So it's about 110.
Okay, 110. And it's not, none of them are short-term rental.
All except one.
Okay, all except one is like this midterm rental. Like what term do you use to describe it? Because it's 6 to 9 month type leases, right?
You're right on the naming. It's either midterm rental or seasonal rental.
Okay.
So of the 110, one is a short-term rental wedding venue, large, very unique property. And we started off, rewind all the way back, we started off with 6 short-term rentals in 2021. Yes. Shortly, early years of COVID, and then realized we didn't like that pace. We didn't like, the demand, because when people come in from out of state looking to rent a long weekend, when one TV goes out, that's important to them.
Yeah.
And to us, it's like, you got 2 more TVs. Is that really a problem? But from that customer service perspective, it's like you have to be on all the time. And then more importantly, like the supply, in Grand County. So we operate primarily in Grand County. So from Winter Park to Grand Lake. So Winter Park, Fraser, Tabernash, Granby, Grand Lake, and then a little bit into Hot Sulphur Springs, that range. And there is no convenience store. There is no Best Buy, Walmart to go in and pick up a TV, right? So you have to come down the Front Range or come down Berthoud Pass to Front Range and pick up a TV for those short-term rental guests who really need that third TV working. So we switched gears, started looking into more long-term. So of our 110, one is a short-term. I would say maybe 40 are seasonal, midterm, whether it's just summer or just winter. And then the other half is long-term rentals, 12 plus months.
Okay.
Tenants, yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize, so I didn't realize any of yours were long-term, but you've several that you manage that are like people are like really moving in. Like
correct.
Yeah. And they're planning on staying even for
multiple years. Yeah. We have some.
They're going to live there.
Yeah. I mean, they made the place their own and they continue, about 2 or 3 months before the lease ends. We ask, hey, what are your intentions? What are your plans? And a lot of them want to renew because now they're part of that community. They live there, they work there, their kids go to school there. So,
Well, let's talk about the midterm rental part of it, because that's something that I really wasn't even familiar with. I think when people think of rental properties, that you often think of either a long-term rental where someone's moving in, they're going to maybe, live there for the rest of their life or at least a few years or something. Or obviously, Airbnb and VRBO and these places have made short-term rentals, not just popular, but well-known.
Right.
And people understand that. But talk to me a little bit about the business model of the midterm rental, because if you get a tenant in for 6 to 9 months, I can imagine that there's still going to be, after that, probably potentially 3 to 6 months that the property just sits vacant. Or like, what does that look like for you as the company managing it, but then also from the business or from the property owner standpoint?
Right.
Are they living there some, or does the property just sit empty usually? Like, what does that look like?
Every property is unique and has its own story and business requirements, let's call it. So the homeowner, oftentimes when you think about who owns a second home rental in Grand County or Evergreen for that matter, it's people who either want the place, own the place, and they want to ski in Winter Park or Granby Ranch, primarily Winter Park. So they're using it over the winter. They want to lock it off from, call it December through March or April. And then the place is vacant during the summer. And then you have the flip side of that are people usually from out of state, hot states, Texas, Arizona, East Coast, Kansas. They want to escape the extreme heat, and they want to come play in the summer, more mild weather. And they don't even care about the winter, use. They don't, before we came in, they primarily either would rent it out as a short-term rental for the winter ski seasons. But then I think that subset of homeowners come to realize they don't like the short-term rental guest and the lifestyle and the wear and tear and the noise complaints and the parties, the damage that could potentially come to that. So by going to seasonal midterm rentals, like with us, we do the background process or the application process, background check, credit check, employment check, reference check, meet them in person, look them in the eye, shake their hand, see if their paper matches who they say they are, and do we think that they're going to treat the property well? So that becomes a win for the homeowner, whether they're using it for the summer or the winter, they rent it out for the remaining half of the year with us. We vet the tenants, they get a say to say, hey, they get the final approval, which is different than what other property managements do. If you had a property, you say, hey, you sign up with company XYZ, a lot of times you're hands off. You don't see the application process. You don't get the final say. So we do that a little bit differently because we want the homeowners to feel like they have a say in who the final tenant goes in.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we follow, Colorado housing guidelines and everything. Like you can't discriminate. Yeah. Funny enough, some homeowners would be like, I'll open up my house to a doctor, but not, a restaurant worker. I'm like, you can't do that. So we educate them along the way, that like, hey, that you can't do that. So midterm's been great. That's about half of our portfolio. And the winter is stronger than the summers. So we have a lot of, if a homeowner in the Winter Park Fraser comes to us, say, we use it in the summer, feel free to use it in the winter. What's the likelihood of renting it out? 99%. So.
Okay. And what's the likelihood if it's the opposite?
Every year is different.
Okay.
So early COVID, I think it was big because people from the Front Range, when the world was shut down, and families who would have, spent 2 weeks, a month in Asia, in Europe, now it's harder to fly, travel. They wanted to escape the Front Range, Denver area. Now they can take that same 2-week, 3-week trip budget and rent out a lake house for 3 to 4 months in the summer. That's a win for them too, right? So, in the beginning of COVID, it didn't matter what season it was. We were renting out properties within a weekend or two at most. And then as the world opened up, people started traveling outside away. The summer demand is just lower. And then on top of that, the supply enters the market more from homeowners who haven't heard of us are renting it out themselves. So if you go to Facebook Marketplace, Zillow, all the real estate platforms, homeowners right now in the spring are starting to list their summer homes for rent. There's more supply in the market. The demand is less, but I think a lot of the homeowners, there's a term for it, accidental landlords.
Okay, yeah.
Right? They're like, maybe they can't even afford to own their house, or they got a job out of state. They just bought in the peak of it, and if they sold, they would sell at loss.
Right.
And so, a lot, especially from last year, are holding on to their house, renting it out, whether it's through us or on their own, at a slight loss, just waiting for the next opportunity to sell. And a lot of homeowners end up calling us and asking for advice. Hey, how do I evict this tenant? That's the worst story, but oftentimes that's how they find us, is they start to do a Google search. Hey, who are the long-term rental property management companies in the area? There's not a lot. And then they end up calling and talking to me or my team. And the most sad story is I can't afford it. I need to get out. How much can I rent it out for? There's a story where I can tell he was younger, probably like late 20s. And this was 2 years ago. So in the middle, at the end of when the world opened back up.
Yeah.
But sales prices were at its peak high. Interest rates were high. He had ordered a new build and he bought it. And he asked, hey, how much can you rent this out for? And I said, about $5,000 a month, which is high for a single family home. And I can tell he didn't like that number. I was like, well, what do you need to cover your expense? He said $7,000.
Wow.
So you're going to be operating at a loss. And if you were to sell that house that he bought now, he would be selling it at a loss. Again, this was 2 years ago. And then he said, and I have two of them one next door to another. So he bought late. Right. He ordered the development and the build in 2022 when supply was super low. Demand was super high. So I don't know how he made out, but he's struggling.
Well, and now, I mean, we've got some really interesting real estate stats, I love macroeconomics and just looking at general industry trends and charts and all these things. That's what I nerd out on. And in the real estate market specifically, we've got some interesting things happening. I'm interested in what you see specifically in Grand County around this stuff. But one, we have the highest median price of homes compared to median income ever in history, like even a larger gap than we saw at any point during the Great Depression in the 20s and 30s. And also in the last couple of months, what we see is statistically, there are more homes for sale. There's a larger gap between homes for sale and the amount of buyers that are actively looking than there ever have been in history. I think the number that I saw was there's 600,000 more homes for sale in the US right now than there are active buyers looking.
Sure.
So how do you, and then I'm gonna have a follow-up question to this, but how do you see the home market in Grand County right now, being that there's a lot of vacationers and stuff like that? You talk about this guy from 2022 who bought at the very peak of the market. We've obviously seen somewhat of a cool off, but what do you, as someone that's like really hands in the market there, like what are you seeing as far as like the velocity of homes moving? And are a lot of people in the same situation as that guy?
I don't know if there's a lot. That was a unique one-off story. 2025 was, if we look at from 2019 before COVID and what that market looked like, and if we use that as the benchmark, 2025 was probably the slowest transactional movement of them all, just because no one knew what was happening with interest rates. Homeowners who are wanting to sell had in their minds that my house is worth X based off of what the price, what Zillow estimate told them, or their best friend who's a realtor told them that from 2027 prices. And they're in their mind, they're losing money if they sell anything less than that number from 2024. But I think 2025 was an eye opener. It was like a chess match, match between buyer and seller, where buyers are like, I'm not going to pay you that number. And finally, I think sellers are realizing, I'm not going to get that number. And they use 2025 to wait. As we're into 2026, there's a lot more transaction, and we're only in March.
Okay.
There's been a lot more movements. Prices are more down to earth. And if you list correctly, people who were on the fence and interest rates sort of been dropping a little bit, peaks up a little bit again, and then drops again. So whenever there's almost like that demographics of people who are not as price sensitive or not sensitive to the interest rates fluctuating. So once they find the right property, then they jump. And what we're seeing a lot we're actually in a deal right now where they're doing a 1031 exchange. Do you know what that is?
Yep.
So for some reason, buyers have to sell another rental income producing property, and they jump into it, and then maybe they see Grand County as a profitable growth area.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of chat about Winter Park expanding its ski area. Have you heard of that?
Okay, no, I haven't.
Yeah, and for the past 10 years, you can try Googling, Winter Park expansion plan or something like that. They've been talking about doubling the size of the ski area and also installing a gondola from Winter Park Ski Resort to downtown Winter Park. Depends on who you ask, that is proceeding, and depends on who you ask. Sometimes
it's not.
Oh no, that ain't ever going to happen. Or there'll be a lot of roadblocks, which I think there are. And so is that going to happen this year, next year, or in the near future? So, but that conversation is the closest it's ever been in the past 10 years. So I think people who might have been on the fence, like if I had extra money and I wanted to buy and I can find a good deal, I'll probably buy investment property in Winter Park. Just because if those events do happen, you're going to see immediate appreciation on that type of property because of growth, ease of transportation, and more people skiing in Winter Park. Now, if we get snow like we did this year, then that's chaos all around.
Yeah. Well, surely we won't have any snow seasons like this for a while.
I hope not.
I hope not either.
It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. I've only skied twice this year.
And you go to Eldora, right?
Well, I haven't been to Eldora at all this year. I've been to Loveland twice.
Okay.
I typically do Eldora and Loveland, but yeah, I mean, it's just been so bad. Like I'm glad I just bought some day passes and didn't buy any like actual pass this year.
Of course, I invested in the Icon pass.
Oh,
it was
man. That's a bummer.
We only have like 4 or 5 days in.
And yeah, and I might try to get, I'm sure we'll get a couple powder days here this spring, but yeah, it's definitely probably, but I mean, for your type of rental business, probably didn't affect it much because people were there already. They didn't know, like if
that's true, right? People who rented out the house for the winter, they start reserving it around mid-year, like August, September. Those who are type A planners were already booked for December through April. So that's a commitment. Just like when you start buying your season pass, right? You don't buy in December, you buy like in the summer or something.
Exactly. It probably affected the short-term rentals.
Absolutely.
A lot.
Huge.
Yeah.
So we have almost on the weekly, we have multiple calls from homeowners who are switching from short-term and learning about what options we can provide. And their stories are a little bit, it hurts me a little bit because a lot of it's financially driven, right? It depends on when they bought, how much equity they have, what uniqueness of their property is. If it's a 2-bedroom in a multiplex that doesn't have amenities like a hot tub, a pool, those guys are getting murdered.
Yeah.
Because no one's renting
those.
Now, if you're a single family home, you have a uniqueness to it. That people still want to get away just to get away, so that they're still doing okay. But still, I think they're collectively overall. What I'm hearing year over year from the winter of 2023, 2024, and 2025, it's 30% decrease each year. 30% in short-term revenue.
Now? Whoa!
Revenue. Yeah.
Whoa!
So
specifically in Grand County.
That's mainly what I study and keep a pulse on, but my wife texted me last night saying, hey, because spring break is this coming week, where do we want to go ski and try to use our Icon Pass, which gives us access to Copper, is it Steamboat, or do we just want to do Winter Park? And she sent me a screenshot of the base, and with the snow, there's more dirt than snow in Steamboat. Winter Park, we just go there more because we have a place nearby. But Copper might be our best bet just because it at least has more snow coverage. Yeah. But it's not good snow. It's all slushy and melted. So muddy.
Interesting. So this 30% year over year decrease, that started when? Because that has nothing to do with the lack of snow this year.
Correct. It has nothing to do with lack of snow. It has everything to do with supply and demand. So if you think, and in real estate, the numbers we see and we talk about, lags about 6 to 12 months.
Mm.
So in 2020, let's start over. 2019 is the benchmark. 2020, COVID started. No one knew what the hell was going to happen. Right? Shelter in place type of thing. Interest rates dropped significantly. And then people were buying up anything and everything they could in 2020, 2021. So and then they converted them to short-term rentals, because in 2020, I actually was on a local news article in Granby, because they interviewed two types of people in 2020, or at least in this particular article. They interviewed me, who owned a short-term rental.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of my own properties, and I specifically converted it to a long-term, because COVID came out in like February, I think.
Yeah, end of February, beginning of March, yeah.
So all of our bookings from February and March was canceled. But I still am stuck holding, having to pay the mortgage. Right. And I didn't know what was going to happen. And then May and June are pretty much mud season, so it takes a while. From a short-term rental perspective, the month of May is really bad. So in my mind, February, March, April, and May was 4 months of no income. What was going to happen? So come June, I fell back into my long-term rental experience and just saying, let's just rent it out long-term. At least we can cover our expenses, even though we're not making anything. And then they interviewed another short-term rental owner who stuck with it for whatever reason. And 2020 was the best performing short-term rental probably of all time.
Interesting.
Because Front Range people needed a place to go.
Yep.
2-hour drive to Winter Park and Granby was great for them. So, and just to give you some stats, if you bought a short-term rental back in 2019, 60% occupancy is good / great even.
Yeah.
2020 occupancy rate was about 90%.
Wow.
So homeowners and if the interest rates were cheap or low, properties were, high, but slowly getting higher. So if you bought in 2020 and 2021 and you plugged it into the short-term rental market, everyone is making hand over fist. And agents will say, hey, here, let's say it's 2022. They say, look, here's this $600,000 property. If you buy it, it can make, $80,000. That covers their expense. So people started doing that, and they bought up all the housing available that would have gone to locals for, local housing.
Yeah.
Now they've all converted it to short-term rentals. And then about 2023 hit, and the world opened back up. People took their money, Front Range people especially took their money, and now they traveled across the world or into a different state, and now
they
it's
have more
across.
options.
So now, if you you dissect 2023, the supply of short-term housing, I don't know the stats, but let's call it doubled.
Yep.
And the demand
started to go down. Yeah.
So then now you start to see that. And then 2024 was even more harsh. That gap widened. 2025, even worse. And so pretty much when I talk to a homeowner who calls me and they say, hey, here's my property. What do you think? Well, when did you buy it? What were you using it as before? So if they said I bought it in 2021 to 2023 and it's been a short-term rental, I know you're bleeding out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, so you said 60% is good. 60% occupancy is good. It was 90% in 2020 time period. Yep. What's it sitting at like now?
So I would say 40%. Yeah. So
that's why they're bleeding.
That's why they're bleeding.
Yeah.
Yep. And
their revenue's been cut in half when they bought these huge mortgages at a 5-6% interest rate.
Yeah. Well, 5-6% interest rate that we talk about, that you hear, that's typically for your primary residence. When you talk about an investment property,
they're paying even more.
You pay more. There's like a premium on top of that. And a lot of multiplex communities there are what's called condotel. That's the worst thing to get. I say this from experience because I bought one myself. So you typically, like, let's say, primary residence interest rate is, let's call it 6%. As an investment, it's probably 7%. As a condo, it's like 7.25%. As a condotel, it's like 7.75%.
Okay.
And you have to put more money down.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of those. And the problem is a lot of those condotels are trying to sell now. And people, even if they drop the price so that it's attractive, like I actually have one of my employees / friends who works for me now, Garrison, shout out to him. He's looking to buy his first investment property, and he looked in at the condotels, and it looks great. The number looks great.
Yeah.
But as soon as it hit that condotel check box, interest rates go up. There's not that many lenders who actually lend to condotels. So then that candidate pool to get lending from shrinks,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to put more money down. Then all of a sudden the math doesn't work out anymore.
Yeah.
So
It's an interesting time to be in the real estate market right now. Because we hear a lot from like our president, who's constantly insisting that interest rates at the Fed be dropped. But now with geopolitical events that are going on, we obviously, I'm paying $4.20 for gas now.
Yep. It was $100 for me to fill up.
Man,
coming here.
I know. I filled up. It was like $93 the other day. I was like, what? But yeah, so the price things are going back up. And also another interesting thing from a macroeconomic standpoint is typically in times of war and geopolitical conflict, we see the interest rate on treasury bills and short-term notes start to come down because as there's conflict in the world, the safe haven has always been buy your U.S. bonds.
Yep.
Well, what we've actually seen over the last 3 to 4 weeks is while oil is spiking and while we're having geopolitical conflict, the interest on bonds and these T-bills has actually gone up, which is one of the first times in history we can actually look at a situation where conflict has correlated with bonds, the interest on bonds going up.
Yeah.
So it's in a tricky situation right now of what's going to happen with interest rates, because if the interest on bonds continue to go up because people aren't buying them, it handcuffs the Fed's ability to cut interest rates.
Right.
And so, it's my personal opinion that if rates don't start to come down soon on homeowners and the ability for mortgages to be able to, people's ability to afford mortgages is going to continue to decline, and which is going to drive the price of properties down. It just has to, if people can't afford those mortgages. If we see a situation where interest rates actually have to rise, I don't know that that's going to happen, but the bond market can really handcuff the Fed's ability to do that. It's just I don't know that we've ever had a time in history where there's so many different, variables influencing the market that we really could see several different outcomes.
Yeah.
It could cool off and interest rates could come down and people's ability to buy these properties could increase. But we also could see the opposite. It's tough to know. It feels like a flip of the coin.
I tell my homeowners when they call, because they'll ask me, like, what do you think is going to happen this summer or next summer if I wanted to sell and get out? Should I hold on, rent it out for a year and wait to see next summer? I was like, look, and they would say, I talked to someone, their real estate professional friend, and I was like, look, if anyone ever tells you that they know what's going to happen, they're lying. Or they're wrong. Because no one knows. I don't know what's going to happen. I can only speculate. And in that comment that you just mentioned, I don't think the housing will cool down. I don't think it's going to really go up. I think it's going to normalize. The baby boomers who own, I can't remember what the stats are, but the majority of big company owned real estate are owned by baby boomers now. I think they're just going to hold on to them because they've owned them since 1990 or 80 and they're paid off. So they're just going to rent it to find the rental amount where they're happy. It hits that equilibrium where it's high enough to find the best quality tenants willing to pay. Because I talked to so many of them who own multiple property. They're like, I don't care if the prices go up or down. I just want good quality tenants to go in there, and they're happy. And there's so much of those homeowners in that today that they don't need to sell. So they'll just wait for the prices to go up.
Right.
And if it goes down, they'll hold on to it. And I think that was the stalemate that we saw in 2025. Or that's a part of the reason. I think what will end up happening is prices will hover around the same. And they're waiting for people's salary and savings to catch up to be able to afford to buy current day rates or sale prices. And the interest rate can help.
Right.
But even if it doesn't hurt, then we become a rental nation, which sort of helps me. I don't envy people who are graduating and entering the workforce today. Actually, I have a few people who, know what I do, and they'll reach out to me and maybe they're young working professionals, like in their mid-20s. They say, what's funny is I just got reached out to last week about a house in Tennessee, an area that I'm not even an expert in, but I have input to share. And I don't envy them because today you have to put more money down.
Yep.
Interest rates. Yeah. A lot of people will say, well, yeah, I grew up in the 1980s and the interest rate was 12%. Yeah. But the house was $75,000.
Yeah.
Now you have, like you mentioned,
$750,000 house.
record high prices and call it mid-range interest rate, but still the monthly payment outpaces the average monthly pay salary. So I think we'll just become a nation of rentals for a while.
Yeah. And in some ways, I think for the youth that are, or just anyone, it doesn't matter your age, that's kind of in that situation right now, being a renter is not bad. Because, say you're trying to buy a house that's $600,000, you have to put $100,000 down on it, right? And I know there's some like FHA things and stuff that can get that lower, but even then you're having to buy, your property,
PMI,
your private mortgage insurance. Yeah. Thank you. So, which is driving your price up more too. So there's all those things that factor in, but as a young person, you can rent, and use whatever extra money you have to actually invest in something that's going to generate you money.
Yeah.
Versus, I think this idea, that American dream of, get a job and buy the white picket fence house, right? Is really a delusion in certain ways, because a house that produces, income is a liability. And because then you got to maintenance the house, you're paying for the house, you're paying your interest with the way amortization works. The first 5 years of your mortgage, you're only paying interest anyway. And so for someone who's in that situation, to be able to rent, not have to put any major capital investment up front
and ongoing.
You just have to cover your rent, and then you can use your extra funds in order to build a portfolio that actually is growing and generating income, which can then 4, 5, 7, 10 years down the road can help you buy a home or buy other investments or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting time when people it's almost like you don't have a lot of them don't have a choice.
Right.
But I think it comes down to when people feel like they don't have a choice, it's easy for them to get down or feel like the world's against them or whatever. But if you use this as an opportunity, it can actually be a springboard for you versus, I can't buy a house, I'm screwed. Because even those homeowners that do buy a house, you hope that it appreciates, but then unless you're going to sell it, what does the appreciation really matter? unless you're then going to somehow pull out that equity through a HELOC
Yep.
to then use as an investment somewhere else.
Yep.
So, I think it can seem like it's harder for the kids coming out of college, but I think if they have the right mindset, it really can be a great opportunity time for them as well.
I agree. There's a silver lining in that, man, what we thought, like you described, that White House picket fence.
Yeah.
That's hard to say fast. In some ways, it's hard to attain now. So you might as well make the best of the situation you have. And you're absolutely right. And that's why I'm sort of in a good spot in terms of our things. Like I tell my team all the time that like we are opportunists. Mm-hmm. We're large enough to where we have processes in place. We're small enough to be flexible and adjust to where things go. Because when we started off in 2021, again, we were on that bandwagon of short-term rentals. We had 6 that we managed.
Yeah. And
then we realized personally we didn't like it, but we sort of saw the writing on the wall because we work with a lot of cleaners. We work with a lot of all the resources and moving parts that goes into managing and supporting a short-term rental. We realized it was about to crash.
Yeah.
And then we switched into long-term. And because of the fire, East Troublesome Fire, it propelled us forward. And now we're in a spot now where we feel like we have a good idea of where we want to be. But I feel like in 2026, there could be opportunities. I just don't know fully what it is. It's like playing poker. You play poker, right?
Yeah.
So we need to get our guys to play poker. I couldn't find that date one time. But it's like, you're great at playing poker. But every hand that's dealt, it's a different strategy and how you play, right? Every time that card comes up, and then who are you playing against? Are they aggressive? Are they conservative? How big of a stack do you have in front of you? That calculus changes all the time, and it's similar. I'm looking forward to 2026 to see what happens. I think there's more movements, and we have some things that are baking in the oven that we'll see if that plays out. So.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I guess just do you see yourself expanding outside of Grand County and doing this other places, or do you really just love the Grand County scene and just kind of feel at home there? And
that's a great
feel
question.
Comfortable,
and I'm grinning because we went through this thought exercise just this past winter, literally December. We started poking around and doing research in other areas, because we feel like we have an understanding of the type of homeowners we work with, the type of tenants. And so we started looking at some other mountain communities. We looked at Steamboat, Breckenridge, Summit County in that area, Vail. We've got some friends and resources there. So we've trying to figure out if we wanted to expand, where would it be and what are the pros and cons? What would it take? That's not quite what I was saying is currently in the oven waiting. But we went through that, and ultimately what we realized is I think staying in Grand County is probably where we're going to be for a while, unless we have the right resources.
Yeah.
Primarily being human.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is one of the reasons why people say, I feel like sets us apart is we bring in. This sounds like a marketing thing, but I'm really just sharing. I grew up in big cities.
Yeah.
And the hustle and bustle, that professionalism, that hey, if I say I'm going to show up at 10, I'm not going to knock on your door at 10. I'm going to knock on the door at 9:40 when I was waiting. You show up early, you follow through with what you say, you try your best, you apologize sincerely if you make mistakes, and we will make mistakes. And funny enough, not dogging on folks in Grand County, but I think a lot of mountain home mentality is, you've heard that, what is it hey, this is beach time, right?
Yeah.
There's mountain time. People show up, they say, hey, you have an appointment at 10, and it's freaking 2 p.m. and they still haven't showed up, nor have they texted you or called you to say I'm running late. And when you call them at the end of the day, they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to make it today. How about a week from now? Well, that doesn't work for a lot of professionals who there's so many moving parts that just ruins their day.
Yeah.
So it's funny that bare minimum requirement you expect out of like, let's say a city type company, you bring that to the mountains, and that alone sets us apart. I can't remember where I was going with that. What were we saying?
I don't remember, man. That's how these go. You just get to chatting and like.
You were asking, would we expand? So we tried finding the same type of people. We could expand, but you also have to have that local feel. You have to run into your peers or colleagues at the grocery store, at the restaurants, at the gym nearby, right? So I would entertain expanding if I had someone who would meet our, professionalism quality and be nearby enough to, call themselves local. Because I think that a lot of companies, there's one in mind, short-term rental, that in the short-term rental boom bought out a lot of different local property management companies that did short-term rentals, thinking that they can manage it from afar. That came crumbling down like a freaking stack of cards. They didn't have the local presence nor the local connections to say, hey, this short-term rental didn't get cleaned right. Send a secondary crew or something that needs maintenance. They couldn't get it fixed in time. And having that local connection goes a long way, because when I call like what's their name? I'm trying to think so I can give a shout out to them. I just know her name by Debbie. Oh, Jimbo's Appliance.
Okay.
There's not that many appliance companies in the county.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's only one that I can actually think of that sells appliances. There's only this one guy who fixes them. And can you imagine how many appliances are in your home? Your oven, your fridge, your dishwasher. When it breaks, we call him. And because we're supplying housing to locals who live there practically full time, they're like, hey, we'll bump you to the top of the list, because to them, we're more important. Our long-term residents are more important than the short-term guests visiting from out of state.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we'd love to expand, but it's tough because we don't have the right resources to recreate that secret sauce in a different community.
Well, you said you got something big cooking in the oven. You want to share what that is?
Oh man, I would love to, but I can't, because there's some potential conflicts, not conflicts of interest, but more competition. Okay. If I were to drop it, it would just put me in a bad spot. Okay. So I think maybe we can I can come back out.
Well, I was going to say, how far down the road is that? Because this probably won't come out for a few weeks.
Oh, it's going to take probably a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say on it.
So I'll segue into answering this. We've become more of, again, the beauty of being small enough to be flexible and nimble and have that opportunistic mindset. Yep. So I started off just doing property management. Well, let me rewind back. We didn't even talk about this. I started off being an investor, buying properties and managing on my own. Snowcap Properties is one business. Then I have another that owns and manages our own. And that's why when 2020, end of 2020, maybe rewind back, 2019, pure dumb luck, we bought 3 different properties, 3 different doors in 2019, not knowing that COVID was around the corner, that things will
about to be a huge
explode, right? And then in 2020, when I was like, okay, let's keep buying, I got stuck in this rhythm where like, I'm not willing to pay that much because I don't think the price is going to stay. When you're used to a certain price point, I still remember when Snicker bars were like 25 cents.
Yeah.
And when I go and at that last minute and I go to grab them, I'm like, it's $1.99. Like I just walk away. I don't even buy it because I'm stuck in my mind that it's 25 cents. And so it's similar with properties that like I look at it, like even though the math makes sense I'm like, I feel like it's going to come down. So that's what prompted the property management arm to manage it. So then last year, a year and a half ago, Garrison mentioned like, hey, what if we start buying and selling it ourselves, become that full integration? Because 2 years ago, when we probably had about 60 homeowners, and when the homeowners were ready to sell, I would say, hey, why don't you go back to your agent that you purchased from and have them sell it? You know, I wanted to specialize because at one point a mentor of mine said, hey, in real estate, there's so many different, avenues. Be a subject matter expert in a few, don't try to do it all because you can't. So for a while we were referring back to these homeowners or even buyers, hey, go to this agent. And there was a good relationship there because real estate agents and brokerages in that area would send buyers to us to say, hey, can you manage this property? But now there's overlap. So we buy and sell as well now. And what's funny is at the end of 2023 or 2024? At the end of 2024, one of our homeowners who we managed for 3 years said, hey, I'm ready to sell and get out. Actually do a 1031 exchange to a different state. Can we help us sell? And I said, go back to your agent. And he's like, why? I like you. You've managed my property for 3 years. I want you to sell it. It's like, okay. And he knew that. So that we were newer. Like I bought and sold for my own property. So I've gone through the experience of doing that, but not necessarily as an agent. So that was our first sell. And then we just took off from there. So there's vertical integration from where we're managing our own 110 homeowners, tenants who are ready to buy too. We're now starting to reach out to say like, hey, we can buy for you. And here's why we can help you. That sets us apart from other people, that is. So we're focusing more in Grand County, but now instead of just property management, we do buy and selling as well. And I think what also sets us apart is the investor mind, because a lot of people, funny enough, is let's say you wanted to buy a rental in Winter Park and not your primary residence. Then you would have to ask an agent, well, can you refer me to some property management companies who will manage it for you? So we can do all of that, right?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, I mean, like what your mentor said, I think there's truth to being a subject matter expert. But what I've found is in situations like that, oftentimes we don't have to be the subject matter expert, in the sense of if you can bring the right people on your team that are the subject matter experts, you just have to have someone that's a subject matter expert. How many times am I going to say? But in each vertical, right? Right. So like your overall expansion idea of being able to do these things, you don't necessarily have to be the expert in all of it.
That's true.
You just need to be the expert in putting that umbrella together.
That's true.
And I think it's a brilliant idea to bring that all under one roof, because then you don't ever have to lose those clients.
Right.
You can keep them all within the one ecosystem, which is your ecosystem.
And you're right. We are looking to expand and hiring out in the areas that we're not subject matter experts in.
Yeah.
We are in that process. It's just, again, finding the right quality human resource is proving harder than it is. Like I can say, hey, I have friends, family, referrals of agents in the Front Range, but for them to drive 2 hours to Winter Park to show a house, I thought about that. It's hard. I think you think that, well, to get your 3% commission, why wouldn't you just drive a few times to the area? But then to have that information on hand to say, like, this is a good neighborhood, this is a good HOA, this is not good for XYZ reasons. I feel like that takes time. So yeah, we're a little bit handcuffed in that, just finding good quality people to join our team. But we're slowly chipping away at it. So
Yeah, well, to I'm bumping my knees. I got these long knees under here. Um, yeah, I mean, to wrap up, do you want to just kind of share like obviously it's a great industry. We can do there's so many different ways to, crack the nut, right? Um, to build businesses, to find ways to make cash flow. What is it that you love most about your industry that you work in? What is it that something that you think personally that you enjoy about your industry that you might not get in other industries?
I think there's a high tolerance for mistakes. If you are in the real estate industry long enough, right? So if you bought in 2020, meaning it for to be a short-term rental, and like I mentioned, started to lose that revenue in 2024, 25, and who knows what's going to happen in 2026, that's only a 4 or 5 year window. But if you zoom out and you still didn't make it work for that first 3-4 years and it's looking worse, but if you zoom out and wait and find out how to keep that, at least minimum mortgage being paid somehow, 10 years, you might break even. 15 years, you'll start to make a profit. 20 years, it's close to being paid off. 30 years, hopefully it's paid off. Like a lot of people will get that 30-year fix. Hopefully they got a fixed mortgage.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's paid off, right?
Yeah.
And then that's where a lot of the baby boomers are to now sitting with a rental property that's paid off. They get all the tax benefits, depreciation, rental income. Yes, there is some maintenance along the way, but if you plan correctly, you can hold that property for a long enough period of time to where no matter what, you're gonna be out. You're gonna make money out at the end. So it's forgiving.
Yeah.
I made mistakes along the way. I bought some that I thought were super high interest rate, high price at the cost at the time. And 20 years later, it's paid off. And I don't like that blip of what I thought was a negative financial impact in the long run. Like I'm sitting pretty now. It's good.
Yeah.
So it's just forgiving versus before we started, I mentioned, this is a fun story I need to tell you. I can't remember what year it is, but it was when Bitcoin was about $1,500. And my wife, Kate, had a Christmas party and we were at someone's house. And it was one of the first few moments that I remember I had extra money to quote unquote play with.
Yeah.
When I say play, I like invest in something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I had $10,000. And I remember this Christmas party and there was like, hey, have you heard of this thing called Bitcoin? It was $1,500. And you didn't have to, she was trying to explain that you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. You can buy, percentages of it.
Yeah. Well, you could have bought 7 of them.
That's the thing. In my mind, I'm like,
$10,000.
Colorado just legalized marijuana.
Yeah.
And I put 10 grand into CBD stocks and like a whole range of stock. In hindsight, as I was driving to this podcast, I even said like, why did I feel like I had to do all or nothing? Why did I not say 5,000 towards CBD and 5,000 towards Bitcoin when it was 1,500? I would have gotten, what is that? 4? Is that right? Yeah. 4-ish.
Roughly, yeah.
Or no, 3-ish.
3 to 4.
And they're $60,000 today. So it still haunts me that I missed out on $600,000 if I would have taken that 10,000 to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
That hurts me.
There's always going to be the opportunity loss, right? Like you can so easily get worked up about, I could have made money on XYZ, but there's always going to be opportunity. And so, I don't know. Sometimes I think going all in is also the way to go too.
Yeah. Because in hindsight, Bitcoin could have not taken off,
right? And
those CBDs could have, 10x it,
right? Well, hindsight's 20/20, and it always is. But the people that have created the people that have built the largest empires, where you're talking paradigm shift type wealth, right? They went all in, like the the Carnegies went all in on steel.
Yeah.
The Rockefellers went all in on oil. Henry Ford went all in on building the greatest vehicle ever, for the time, obviously. The Vanderbilts went all in on railroads.
Right.
There's so many examples like it.
Right.
Where the diversifying oftentimes is after you make it big. So, even though that one you chalk up as a loss, but that doesn't necessarily mean that next time you have some opportunity in front of you, if you feel like one of them is the home run,
right.
Sometimes it's worth it to take the chance.
Yeah.
Especially when you're young, but even when you're older, if you haven't hit it big yet, why not shoot for the stars? Mm-hmm. If you got the opportunity to, sometimes it might not work out, but at least you made the effort to hit the grand slam.
Right. I got 2 questions for you.
Okay.
So through this conversation,
yeah,
we, for those who don't know, I met Will playing basketball at the Wolf Rec Center, right? I think.
Yeah. No, we would have met
kids from
that.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids went to the same school.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I really got to. Do you remember when that was? When we really talked?
No, tell me.
It was a Halloween. You had your truck. You had a trailer in it. It was freaking cold out, and folks were rotating in your shotgun seat. And I had hopped in. Kids and other families were.
Oh yeah.
So I hopped in to talk to you.
Okay,
and you were like, oh, you're an engineer, and I touched real estate a little bit, and I don't like to go into too much because at the level that we were talking at now today is, I feel like more detailed than your typical, hey, going trick-or-treating with.
Yeah.
But I can remember that I knew that you were an entrepreneur, and obviously in today's conversation, a lot about real estate. And as I was listening to your other podcasts, a lot about other different areas. So how is it that you know so much? I tell my team all the time, going back to being that subject matter expert, you can either know a lot, but you just don't have enough time and capacity to go deep into any given topic. But I feel like you know a lot of different topics and they're fairly deep. What is your top 3 expertise in?
Oh man. I guess while I let that question marinate, I'll just share something that was coming to my mind as you were saying that. And it's just that the reason I feel like I have somewhat of a subject understanding of lots of different subject matters is that I'm just a wildly curious person. That's why I do this podcast.
Yeah.
It's because I want to have on I've already had a wide range of people on my show, wide variety of topics. And I think it's only going to get wider and more diverse.
Yeah.
And I'm just a very curious person. So the only way you learn things is by listening to other people that know more about that topic than you do. Or even sometimes it's you don't even necessarily have to be someone that maybe knows more than you. They just know something different than you.
Yeah.
So the only way to expand our knowledge base is by taking in information, and we get that through listening. And so to me, the most important thing is to seek out information and then really listen, intentionally listen.
Sure.
But man, my top 3 subject matters that I like, I love macroeconomics in general, and I'm saying that one because there's dozens of verticals in that area, right? Yep.
Is crypto one of them?
Crypto is for sure one of them.
Okay, one of the 3.
Real estate. Anything in macroeconomics, I love to dive into. So, which involves every industry. So you're talking everything from small business to the bond market, to stocks. Obviously, crypto is a very new sector of the financial market. But from tech to AI, real estate is one of the largest, sectors of value in the world. And so, and then that can expand into, there's micro pockets, there's, just the state of Colorado, micro pockets within that. You can expand out into the US as a whole, or all the different states, or the micro pockets within them, or you can start talking about things on a global scale, because in economics, everything is affected by everything. It's all intertwined somehow, especially when you start getting into things like liquidity and money flow and into supply. And so those are the types of things that really, when I'm killing time, all of those topics, and I just touched on a few dozen, right?
Yeah. Those are very wide
Those
topics.
are the things that I love, but all of that's encompassed by macroeconomics.
Right.
So I think that's one of the things I love talking about the most. Then I really love just having spiritual theology conversations. So I've got a few podcasts coming up where I'm getting to just dive in with some subject matter experts on different religions and theologies, and what these people, how they've grown up and what they've been taught, and so the way they see God and spirituality as a whole. And so that's fascinating to me. I love talking theology. So there's two. You asked me for three. And then I don't know, I guess the idea of entrepreneurship, just business building in general, which can kind of go into macroeconomics in its own sense in the form of businesses. But
how many businesses do you have now? You have the Genesee one.
Yeah.
And then you have some books, right?
Well, I'm toying with a lot of different stuff. It's, what do you call a business, right? I don't know how many different sets of cash flow and stuff. I don't know. I'm not even sure how to answer that question fully. But I think for me, it's just about finding things that are fun. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just wildly curious. I love hearing everyone's perspective. And oftentimes, I might have opinions on things, but I like to go into a lot of my conversations with the idea that I'm not going to have an opinion, because
be open-minded.
Yeah. Because I want to learn. That's anytime you're locked in on something, right, you put yourself in a box. And so I kind of have this philosophy in life that to challenge your own belief system can do one of two things. I love having any of my opinions, I love having them challenged. Any things I believe, I love having them challenged, because one of two things is going to happen. By being open to allowing those thoughts that I have to be challenged, either I'm going to take in new information that allows me to change my opinion and grow a opinion that I think is more accurate based on new information that I took in, or that information that I take in is going to fortify what I already think.
Right.
Which both are great. I'm open to that either way. I think a lot of people see their thoughts and their opinions, and it's they identify as that. So they don't want their thought structures to be questioned, because that somehow makes them feel like they're being questioned.
Sure.
And that makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I'm the total opposite. I'm I want...
You're in learn mode.
I'm in learn mode all the time.
That's awesome.
That's the way you grow. That's what's fun to me. So, what did I say? Macroeconomics, spiritual theology.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And crypto, I would put in that macroeconomics. Of any of the macroeconomic stuff, I'm probably more of a subject matter on crypto than any of the other stuff. But crypto is so heavily tied into all of economics, liquidity, and understanding just value, and that ties into technology and AI and all these things, and just understanding blockchain is really as what's behind crypto. Crypto is just kind of this term that's thrown out. yeah, then the third one, did I already give an answer to that? I don't remember. I don't remember, man. But yeah, I'm just curious about life and curious about people. Like I love just meeting people and talking to people that have completely different worldviews than me. So yeah, I think and then business entrepreneurship, I said.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think, the way that ties into macroeconomics is, I mean, there's no better way to generate cash flow than being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I saw some stat the other day, like the percentage of multimillionaires and how they've gotten that way. The highest percentage is through entrepreneurship, and the second highest way is through investing. So, I didn't see any percentage on that list for just being a W-2 employee.
Right. Right.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Like people want to live their life that way.
Unless they start off with early on in a startup company, right? You're still a W-2 and you got lucky to work with a leader who actually, blew up that category.
Right. But then even then, probably the only way you got rich in that situation is if somehow you had some stock options or something through that, which really could be considered investing.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you might be taking on that early startup job and you might be saying, oh, well, I'm going to make $60,000 where I could possibly go and make $80,000 somewhere else. But I'm going to take this little bit less paying job because I'm getting these stock options. And then, 5 years later, those stock options are worth a ton of money.
Yeah, that's true.
So even in that sense, it's somewhat of an investment strategy.
Yeah.
And so, these are the things I like to talk about.
That's
everything.
Same. I think once you put on that entrepreneurial hat, you have to be willing to learn. You're curious to try. You're just, looking at so many different things. I almost get to a fault. That's why I knew, maybe similar to you with the way you were describing, that's why I sort of took my mentor's recommendation a little too close.
Mm-hmm.
Or when they said, hey, be a subject matter expert in one. And I thought property management was the one, right?
Yeah.
That no, you can multitask, you can do things where you can hire out and get help or whatever. Because you can, as an entrepreneur, you can easily have that FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, that like, I'm doing A and then it's not fully baked yet and I already jumped ship to B, C, and D. And then all of a sudden that doesn't ever, materialize.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to find myself trying to figure out, okay, what can I do without losing my self-identity where I'm already great at, but still trying to look for other opportunities to improve.
Yeah.
It gets tough.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is just having fun. Like, I was talking with you about some things I got going on in the upcoming months, some different cool projects. And it's like, it's not even that it's not that I'm making a ton of money doing some of these things, but it's like the opportunities even that come from those opportunities. It's hard to calculate an ROI on things like networking. It's hard to calculate an ROI on like you meet the right people and you get in the right rooms and you have the right conversations. Because sometimes that ROI might materialize 7 years later when another opportunity comes from something. And just because you were in the right room at the right time and you talk to the right people. But it's having fun. Like most everything that I do, I would do for free. Like, I think that's really where I'm at in life is most everything that I would do for free. And so when I get paid to do stuff that I would do for free anyway, that's happy. Awesome.
Yeah. That's above and beyond your expectation.
Yeah. And you mentioned like I'm about to publish my first book. It's going to be called The Good Life. And kind of the core component of that, I mean, I dive into a lot of stuff, but it's really to be able to, like, when you're constantly in the rat race, it's hard to really just enjoy the life that you have or to make decisions based on, this is something that's going to bring me joy or fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of people are constantly thinking like they need more income, or they have to grow something. It's like, if you can just get to a point where you can keep your costs under your cash flow, whatever that is, if you can make your costs $2,500 a month and you're making $4,000 a month, you're killing it.
Yeah. Yep.
And so if it's going to take you 10 grand a month, then you're making 20, you're also killing it. So whereas someone would be like, they spend $500,000 a year or something, who knows? I'm just throwing numbers out there. But my point is, like, if you can just live under your means, no matter what those means are, then you're free.
Yeah.
Then you're free.
Yeah.
And you're free to really do whatever you want and just have fun and enjoy yourself.
Yep.
So
have you ever heard of FI, financial independence?
Not phrased that way. I mean,
so it's like a whole group of, they'll call it a movement even. This younger generation focuses on FI, financial independence, figuring out what your cost is, making sure that your income is above that mean, and then figuring out how to invest in it and living off of the dividends.
Yeah.
And so that you don't have to be stuck in the W-2 rat race.
Totally.
And these younger generations, and when I say younger, I'm thinking they're 20 and 30, and they're doing everything they can to get to FI as quickly as they can. They're talking like in their 40s.
Yeah.
They no longer have to work. They stash away their money, and then they're free to do what they love. A lot of times people don't know what they love.
Yeah.
It seems like you're very clear on the things you enjoy doing. You love camping. You love your daughter. You love entrepreneurship. A lot of people can't even name one. That if they had all the money in the world, what are you going to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest, I'm sort of one of them. Yeah. I don't know what I love yet. My wife and I joke about it all the time. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up yet. Still trying to figure that out. And what's funny is, up until a few years ago, before, let's call it, I hit FI, where I'm working, but I work because I choose to work, not because I need to work. I work because at the time, tunnel vision, right? I needed to make more than I spend, and I needed to spend enough to be comfortable. And that was my box. So make more than that box. And then now where things are coasting, it's like, now what do I want to do? Mm-hmm. That's why, like, you and I know this really well with this whole text message about not having the ability to play basketball on Monday. Mm-hmm. I didn't chime in a lot because I'm pissed.
Yeah.
That's why I would truly say I enjoy playing basketball. I would play basketball no matter what, or not just basketball. I play other sports too, but basketball is one of them. And the group of guys that we play with, it makes going to play fun.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ego. Yes, there's accidents, and like people will, like, I've got upset with some folks that I would call friends. Yeah. Our friends, basketball friends. But you leave it there on the court. I walk away, they walk away. We apologize at the end. I'll see you next Monday, right? Yeah. So I'm a little upset that I haven't been back the past 2 Mondays. One, I was ill. Mm-hmm. The other one, it seemed like it was half court for an hour. And with 30 people there, you can't. Oh, man,
it was nuts.
Were you there?
Yeah, we did. They did actually switch it up where we have both courts full time. But the problem is there were still so many people. Like, it was crazy. Yeah. So, yeah, the last... because I come and play with you guys for 2 reasons. One, just to get a run and sweat in and some exercise that way. But 2, it's exactly what you just mentioned. It's a good group of guys up there in Evergreen that we get to play with. And, and I get to personally play a little different. Like, I...
shoot threes?
Yeah, I shoot threes.
I heard your podcast.
I play point guard.
Your other one. And you actually shoot really well. Yeah. I don't know why.
Well, because it's I might shoot well for rec league, but when I was not when I'm playing in college and professionally stuff, everybody, they were all better shooters than me.
Sure.
So I was the 6'11" guy. So
how tall is Kevin Durant?
6'8", 6'8", 6'9".
So
maybe
let's say he's he's 6'10", but he's a great shooter, right?
Yeah, great shooter. Well, that's why being tall, if you can really be a good shooter and be tall, there's no disadvantage to height in basketball.
Right.
That's why
there's one.
What?
Well, they dribble so high.
Oh.
So me being shorter than you,
yeah.
If you let your eye off for a second, I'll probably steal it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, because
Right. Well, you probably wouldn't me because I'm not as good of a dribbler as some people. But like, I mean, I would say like the high levels, there's really not a big, because even though they're dribbling maybe a little higher, like they have so good like
right,
control of the
defending
ball,
and blocking. Yeah.
and the way they're able to create spacing. Um, but yeah, I mean, really, it's just that I love the community. It's such a good group of guys, and just and that's one of the things that bring me joy is having community. And I think that's a other big thing to understand too, is because maybe you feel like you want to know what you're going to be when you grow up still, and you're kind of like, oh, is it that I'm passionate about, or like what is it exactly that I want to do for a job when I'm a big kid, right?
Right.
But I think sometimes just our businesses or our jobs, they don't necessarily have to be the sexiest thing, right? Like I wouldn't say real estate is the sexiest thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like solid, and when you know it and you can do it, it's something that you can that you can grow, and that supports you and your family, and that you get to interact with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And like that becomes community.
Yeah.
And so sometimes the purpose and the passion behind it can really just be serving my community. I'm providing for my family. And then that allows me to really be present with other people when I'm with them. Because if you, that financial independence, one thing that financial independence allows you to do is really be fully present when you're doing other things.
Right.
Because if in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to pay my car payment next month. Am I going to have the rent that's due in 2 weeks? Am I going to have to put my groceries on a credit card next week and pay crazy interest rates on my credit card? Like when those are the types of thoughts and stuff that you're having, even in your subconscious, it's hard to be really fully present with other people, or even in what you're doing, because you're in that survival mode.
Yeah.
Versus when you can step out of survival mode and you're not worried about how you're going to survive, well, then you really can do
what you enjoy,
do the things that you enjoy, and be present in those things, and actually enjoy them.
Yeah.
Because you could be doing something that you enjoy, but if you're in fear of survival,
yeah,
are you really going to enjoy doing those things? Not necessarily.
I'm trying to process and think of what would be a good example for me. I've listened to your podcast now, and you evidently are a skydiver, right? I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah, it's been a while, but
I've always wanted to skydive. I haven't, and I don't know if I would enjoy it, to be honest. I go into this fight or flight mode when it comes to height. Like, I will get up on a ladder and get off on my roof to do something, but I'm not hanging out on the roof. I'm coming back down right away. So I don't know if I can do. I do enjoy roller coasters to some degree for a few hours, maybe like 3 or 4 rides in a row.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can equate skydiving to roller coasters because of the height and the speed and the wind.
What I would equate there on what you said is, I also don't necessarily like being on a roof, but jumping out of a plane is completely different, because you're a mile up in the sky. Like when I'm 20 feet above the ground, I'm looking at the ground like, if I fall off this,
I'm going to get hurt.
That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
I wasn't the kid that climbed to the top of the tree when I was, growing up on the farm. I didn't, I let my cousin climb to the top of the tree. But with something like skydiving, I mean, you're so far away from the ground. You just got to get over that initial hurdle of like, I'm about to jump out of a plane. Because then once you're free falling, it's amazing.
Right.
So,
I'm sure.
I don't know. I would say just because you don't necessarily like heights, it doesn't necessarily mean skydiving wouldn't be fun for you.
Are you skilled enough to skydive on your own? Like you don't need the tandem?
Oh yeah. I've had I never did a tandem. I was too big for a tandem.
Oh.
And so I took a class, and I have a little over 80 jumps. So I haven't jumped in probably 6-7 years. Maybe even like 7-8 years. It's been a while. You have to stay current on your license and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
and I could go back at any point and like make my license recurrent. But
how is it that even more recently, I want to say within the past month, people jump out and they get hit by, I don't know if it's the wing, the door, their backpack gets hooked onto something as they're jumping out. There's no protocol or safety to be like, to completely eliminate it. There was something in the news about a month ago. Someone,
I don't know.
Anytime there's a
skydiving accident, you hear about it in the news. It's actually like a relatively pretty safe sport.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's really just dangerous when you're doing certain things, like when you're cliff jumping and like the more the base jumping stuff, where if a little thing goes wrong, there's not the opportunity to fix it. But like when you're just jumping out of a plane, you got your reserve parachute. I mean, I've had times where my reserve almost had to automatically go off because I wasn't able to like grab my main chute and pull it, which I eventually did like right at 1,000 feet, which is where your reserve will automatically deploy. But like, I mean, I think there's an aspect of just the adrenaline of like taking risks and stuff, but skydiving was a blast. I haven't done it in a while, but I think I'll get back into it. I think what I want to do next with that discipline eventually is just really get into like paragliding. And because being under a parachute's a lot of fun. So skydiving is great, but you have 2 minutes of free fall, and then at best, and then you might be under parachute for a couple minutes on your way down. But I think just with paragliding, you just have this huge parachute, much larger than like a skydiving parachute. You just run off. You just run off, and you can fly for hours.
Flying. It's just like flying
for hours.
Yeah. My kids do this a lot. We're like, we'll say what if type questions, like, would you rather be able to fly, or would you rather be able to like, go underwater like Aquaman or something like that?
Yeah.
And I said flying, and then I realized there are things you can do that mimic flying, like paragliding, right?
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Totally. Yeah, it's something I want to get into with. All right. Last question. We're going to make this fun. If you could only have one superpower, what would it be?
Because we said flying, part of it was flying.
You got to pick a different one.
But maybe ability. Now I'm debating between going back in time or stopping time.
Ooh.
Well, I'll go back in time.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or go
Why?
back in time.
What would be the first thing you'd do if you could go back in
time? Talk to myself and say, hey, here are the mistakes that you're about to make. Hey, put that 10,000 in Bitcoin instead of CBD. That was a stupid mistake.
Oh, that's funny.
Those self-improvements first, and then I think it's natural to take care of yourself first, and then once you've done everything you want for yourself and your family, your loved ones, then you start to think better for the world, right?
Yeah.
Hey, whatever it might be. Yeah, going back in time, and not caring about the time ripple effect theory, MCU universe type of things that you can do. Like, I don't know. Yeah. What would you do? What would you be?
I would choose teleportation.
So you would just think of somewhere to be and you would go.
Yeah. I think of it more as like I'd open up a portal, jump through it.
That's what Doctor Strange can do, right?
I think Doctor Strange can do something like that. Yeah. But no, I would do that because imagine if you could teleport, like you would never have to. Imagine the opportunities that would open up to you if you could be anywhere instantly and never had to travel somewhere. Like I look at it as I would be able to jump to anywhere in the world, and like you'd never need to do a Zoom meeting ever again. Like think about it. You could just be in-person meetings anywhere in the world, show up to any conference, like any party. If there's anyone that you wanted to meet for for any reason, from a networking standpoint, you could instantly make sure that you were somewhere where they were going to be.
Sure.
And so I think that'd be cool. It'd be like, I could be at 5 different conferences in 5 different places of the world in the same day.
Yeah.
I'd just like pop in here.
This is how much you like working. You would have the power to help you work, right?
Well,
to network and meet, to be in meetings, to work.
Yeah, well, man, I wouldn't even look at it as like meetings. It's just like interacting with the right people, putting yourself in the right room. Yeah, I guess that's how much or, I could instantly be at the ski mountain and ski for 3 hours and then immediately be somewhere else.
Right.
Like there would be no in between. Like, yeah, because you could do all the fun stuff too. I was thinking about it from like a networking standpoint, but I could literally ski and then go to the top of a 14er and then be on the beach for an hour and still make it to coach my daughter's basketball game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all those things. So I don't know. Teleportation would be a good one. The only one that I think competes with teleportation would just be like immortality.
Have the option to be immortal or have the ability to say, I'm done when because I never understand that limitation. In all these Dracula-like movies, there's moments in like let's say someone's character who is a vampire, they're saying how bad it is. Mm-hmm. Well, then just step out into the sun when you're ready to be done and be done. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why that's a limitation for vampires and immortality.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a vampire, so.
So you'd be immortal.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's things about immortality too. It's like I don't think we're supposed to be immortal. Right. So, you think like, oh, if you had all the time in the world, you could. There's so much that you could do and accomplish, but, I think maybe if we could just extend our life, like how in like the really ancient days, people would live to be 300, 400, 500, 700 years old sometimes.
Is that, I didn't know that. That's
if you believe that these like things like written in the Old Testament, but I mean there's a lot of religious disciplines that would agree that people used to live to be several hundred years old. I don't know if there's any like scientific proof for something like that per se, but it's a belief that I have. And I think that that's something through like modern science that we actually will be able to get back to. Because I think it's somewhat of a mental thing. Like people just think they have 70 years. But also, like I was even listening to Tony Robbins talk about some anti-aging stuff the other day. And so much of this anti-aging is when certain genomes turn on and off, and it's all in our DNA. And so if we have the ability to reverse those now, where we can actually keep ourselves young for much longer. So I think I wouldn't want to be 250 years old if I'm decrepit and like can't move.
Yep.
But if I could have if I could be strong and have like a body and mind like I do now and be 250 years old.
Right. Then worth it.
Yeah. Then I would love to live that long.
Like lobsters, right?
Yeah.
Something about lobsters that they have some weird gene doesn't age.
Yeah, I think so. Like there's interesting stuff. There's a lot of science coming around that. So, man, well, we've covered a wide variety of things.
I know.
We started talking real estate.
No, that's great. That's great. That's sort of.
And now we're on anti-aging.
Yeah, and we can keep talking. Like the thing is, as I was driving up here, knowing Phil, knowing Matt, and knowing how the four of us and the things we do on the court and offside, I'd be curious to see where that conversation goes too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'd be fun. We're gonna have to do that some other time.
Next time. Next time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, man. This was awesome. This is great. Great to, especially knowing who you are, listening to the podcast, and then your other podcasts, and then being here too. So,
yeah. Well, this is fun. Experience. Well, Charles, you're a great guy, good friend.
Likewise.
And I appreciate you coming on the
show.
Thanks,
man.
Yeah.
That was great.
Thanks.
That was fun.